One of the markers that you're getting close to football season again is the first Tiger Talk. And we had it last night. And we're going to talk about it today. He's Zake. I'm Brand. This is a brand new Village Vice. And it's a thing now. So just, jump on board with it.
I love it.
All right. Hugh Freeze had some very interesting things to talk about last night, including Hank Brown announced as the backup quarterback. I don't remember a backup quarterback announcement being so captivating in a while, but it certainly has been.
Yeah, I think some of it has to do with the future of the program, right? Because Peyton is here for another year, and then that's it. He can't come back after this season. So some of it is, okay, like whoever wins this battle between Hank Brown and Holden Geriner, who kind of becomes the de facto favorite to be Auburn's next quarterback when we talk about next season, which is kind of when a lot of people think Auburn has a chance to make a true run at making the college football playoff. And Hank won that battle, obviously, as Hugh Freeze stated earlier this week at Tiger Talk. So to me, I mean, you and I talked about this when we reacted to his Friday presser.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you asked me point blank. I said, I think it's Hank. I think Hank wins it. That ended up being correct. But, I don't think this means Holden is a bad quarterback. Right. I think Auburn's in a unique spot where they've got four really solid quarterbacks. They're just at different stages of their development. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's no secret I'm a huge fan of Hank, and I think he's going to be a great quarterback at Auburn.
Well, you guys have had a professional relationship really since he got to campus. You interviewed him on your Locked On Auburn show, which released just a few hours ago as we talked. Really terrific interview. But professional relationship aside, in the windows we've seen, he throws the ball very well. He's got he may have the best deep ball in the room. He just throws the ball very well.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's earned the label gunslinger, right? And with that comes big plays where we saw in the bowl game. And then I also think with that comes, a little bit of risk. I mean, you think about like the ultimate gunslingers in football history, like Brett Favre, right? You never really knew what kind of throw you were going to get from him, but the potential is always so high. And I think that's kind of what we're looking at with Hank. Mentally, I think he's exactly what Hugh Freeze wants in a quarterback. I think he really understands like the essence of the RPO. But, I mean, he was already kind of known for being pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And it seems like his arm strength has gotten better. Just talking to folks throughout the program as far as, the work he's put in the weight room. He's bulked up a little bit. So, yeah, there's a lot to like in Hank as a backup quarterback for sure.
Let me put you on the spot here a little bit because you've talked to him several times. I mean, you've had multiple conversations. What does the average fan not know about Hank that, is important for them to know, do you think?
I think the amount of like mental work he puts in. We talked about this going into the offseason when he was kind of capitalizing off of that solid bowl performance that he had. It's like, what's the biggest goal this offseason? And he's like, I really want to focus on pre-snap reads and pre-snap checks and working with my coaches to figure out, how I can get quicker at processing that information. And it sounds like he's done that. I mean, I don't think Coach Freeze and his staff would have given them that unanimous nod across the offensive staff if he hadn't have done that over Holden. So I would guess that just, you go out there and you see how big Hank is. Got a great frame, but mentally, like he checks all the boxes, which I think when you run an RPO type system, like you need to be able to read defenses quickly.
Yeah, it's massive. In your interview with him, talked a little bit about the offense and how different it is and some of the ability to get out of plays and into new ones and read defenses and Coach Freeze has said it over and over again. It's vital. It's not just who makes the best throws. Holden has a terrific arm. Walker White's supremely talented, but when you get to this level in the SEC, what you're asking your quarterback to do mentally before the play starts is as important as what you ask him to do once the ball is snapped. And so, Coach Freeze went out of his way to talk about how Holden is also important and they have confidence in him. And, and either one of those guys could play in an emergency type of situation.
100%.
but you do have to parse the reps. You do have to divide them, and you're not in game week yet, but the practices that they do have this week, you got to divide those quarterback reps. And Peyton is the clear one, and now Hank is the clear two. And anytime a situation goes from a few questions to a few less questions, there's a settling effect there. You know where the barriers are, you know where the boundaries are, and now you have a little more direction going forward, and they have that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of players on this roster are going to kind of learn where they are in the pecking order of things. I mean, it sounds like quarterback was one of the first positions where they kind of sat down and talked to everybody. And so obviously there's the folks that win their respective battles that are excited and super fired up and motivated to, hit the ground running as fall camp ends and prep for the season starts. There is the other side of this. And I'm sure everybody in that room is, they love the competition of it, but it stinks to be on that side of it. And so, we'll see how those emotions are handled throughout the roster, and it may vary position by position, but that's a part of it, Brad. And with college football being in the state that it is right now, with the transfer portal and there being really no limit on, how much communication schools can have with other players, despite there being rules for it, there's no enforcement of it. You just never know. You just never know. Like, okay, I'm going to make this decision to move you down the depth chart. I hope you stick around, but that's not a given anymore.
No. And in fact, BP talked about this on our show last night. He said that every one of those players on your team that choose to stay did that over conversations that other teams in the league are having with them. Now,
so wild that that's just blatantly out there and nobody's doing anything about it.
Sure.
It's insane.
Yeah. But that's where we are. I mean, it's the old cliche, Wild Wild West. That's what we have, and we know that, and everybody's just operating in it. So it's not, people aren't trying to stave it off. They're just trying to operate within it now at this point. Now, it's different with basketball. You have 13, 14 guys, people are coming after a smaller number. What about your scout team guys? That's a different dynamic altogether. One of the I thought one of the most valuable things we heard Hugh Freeze say last night or talk about was building value or letting a player understand, helping a player understand that his value isn't just what he can do on the field. Because if all your value is wrapped up in how many touchdowns and how many tackles or so on and so forth, then if you're not starting, or if you're not number two, or if you're not playing every week, or if you're not playing as big a role, well, you're going to get way down on yourself. You're going to look around. It's just negativity all the time. People are going to tell you don't belong there. You should go somewhere else. One of the keys to retention within your program is making guys understand that their value is far and above productivity on the football field.
Yeah.
And I think as we go a little bit out of order here on the list, when that scout team gets announced in the middle of this week, you're going to have some guys who are very, very talented and maybe thought they were in line for a lot more playing time.
Sure.
Now they're on the scout team. Can they accept that role? Can they accept it with the right attitude? And can they give as much effort with that assignment as they gave in fall camp when they were battling for a spot maybe on the 2 deep?
Yeah, and it's going to vary from kid to kid, and a lot of that has to do with what their expectations were going into this situation or going into the off season. And like some of these freshmen, like unless they were just told in the recruitment process you've got a chance to start year one, which I can't imagine was too prevalent. I don't know. I mean, it's so much of it is the balance of this. And we talk about how, all right, the coaches need to, make sure everybody feels valued and, you're constantly recruiting your own players, but there's only so many hours in a day. Like there's only so much you can do. And so they've got to get ready for the season.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Brad, just like from the player side of it and just them being people, it's just a lot. It's a lot to go through. I mean, because I just never been like in a situation that was this publicly covered and you lose out on a spot And like mentally, I know that's got to do something for you, especially with how these kids are wired and they're competitive, and all of them have been dominant in their level of football for their entire life. And then all of a sudden, their loss is being covered, or the guy who beat them victory is being covered. It's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
It's a lot to deal with. I hurt for him.
It's why perspective is important. Kind of again, not to stray too far away from the topics we usually discuss here on the show, but like in any other job or in any other effort that you're trying to make, where is your identity? What is your identity wrapped up in? If your identity is wrapped up in the results that you get at your job, and then all of a sudden you don't get those results, it's going to impact you far more drastically than if your identity is set from the inside, or in your family or in your relationships or what have you. Then those results, they motivate you, and you could be motivated to work hard, and that's the goal, but they're not completely devastating or crushing. So, and they talked a little about that on the show last night, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah. I think so.
All right. I want to talk linebacker a little bit, if we can, 100%. After Barner's Supply Company.
Ooh.
Barner's Supply Company. Barner's making gear for Barner's.
What's that good looking hat behind you?
Yeah,
Brad.
That is
that strategic placement? Is that product placement right there?
It is.
I love that.
Strategically. Wore it on the show yesterday, and not surprisingly, we had comments. There it is. Beautiful. We had comments like, that's such a great hat. Where do I get it? I'll tell you where you get it. BarnersSupply.com.
Yes.
And when you go to check out, use our promo code Village Vice, all one word, no spaces, Village Vice. You're going to get 15% off. You're going to support some amazing Auburn people. You're going to support this show. People are going every single day to BarnersSupply.com and using our promo code, and it's terrific. Again, great Auburn people. They're Barners creating gear for Barners. Kind of like on this show, we're a couple of Barners creating content for Barners.
That's true.
It's why the partnership works. So check it out, BarnersSupply.com. Linebacker. Coach Freeze last night on the show said that we had a lot of news on the show last night, which was nice. Said that Austin Keys had suffered an MCL sprain at some point in fall camp and had missed several practices. They're hopeful they get him back for the opener against Alabama A&M. I think it's probably wise, and we'd love to see Austin play 13, 14 games this year. But it is wise to talk about contingency plans and who plays more if Austin Keys is not able to go.
Yeah. I mean, you never want to label somebody as injury prone, but this has happened a few times throughout his career now. And so that's super unfortunate because he's such a talented player. But
I just mean, even if it's game 1, game 2, like for whatever snaps Austin Keys doesn't play for whatever reason, who gets more of those?
Yeah, I mean, my guess would be Dorian Maiusi,
yeah,
the transfer from Duke, and he's been through spring, summer, and fall, so he should be certainly acclimated. He's played a ton of college football. And then, the last addition to the team, Fanaje Gote, the transfer from Maryland. He already was familiar with DJ Durkin's system, so hopefully that acclimation period for him was a little bit quicker. I've heard good things. I haven't heard a ton about Gote one way or the other, but the little bit I've heard sounds like he's hit the ground running. Then we've heard good things about DeMarcus Riddick as well. I don't know if it's necessarily from that same role that we would ask Austin Keys to do. It sounds like in the last scrimmage they sent Riddick a lot to pursue the quarterback. So we'll see. But Robert Woodyard's a guy that I was really high on after spring. I haven't heard much from him since then, but he was my 8A defensive MVP vote just because I thought he had a pretty good outing. So haven't heard much of Woodyard either, Brad, but I'd love to see more snaps for any of those guys.
I think Robert is the guy who might stand to benefit the most if Austin is not able to get back from that MCL sprain in time or be 100% for the first game. And I don't know that you necessarily have to press all that much to get him back 100% for the Alabama A&M game, with all due respect there. If you say, well, he's close, but let's hold him out till Cal,
Yeah, I don't get the benefit of playing. Like, what Austin Keys does on the field. Like, he's a veteran player. I don't know why you need to rush him back. And so you got to think if he plays, they feel really comfortable with his health. So
I don't know if do people get how big Austin is? He's 6'2", about 250. Massive legs, huge calves.
He just moves so well. Like, he doesn't move like he's 250. Yeah.
Agreed. And so behind him, Mausi is 235, 6'1", 235. Robert Woodyard, I've got him listed at 6 feet 220 right now, but the scrimmage, not this past Saturday, but the one that was open to people, I thought he made some really nice plays in that scrimmage. Highly touted coming out of high school, has been waiting behind veterans. Would love to see Robert Woodyard really step up this year. Going to need him for depth ahead of some of the true freshmen, even if he's not playing, in a starting or first off the line type of role. So Robert Woodyard would be the guy who maybe now is challenged to step up a little bit more.
Yeah, you also need Woodyard for next year just because you lose so much at linebacker, and he's a redshirt sophomore, and so he's still got plenty of eligibility left. So you'd love for him to be kind of a candidate to be the leader in that room. I still think they're going to have to add a portal linebacker this December, but still, you want Woodyard to be a part of it moving forward too.
Thankfully, it is the MCL and not the ACL for Austin. ACL would be a lot worse. So ACL being.
Yeah, you want to break down what those stand for?
Well, ACL is your anterior cruciate ligament. If you injure an ACL, you're out months. MCL is the medial collateral ligament, and that days, weeks, a much shorter recovery period.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Brand, for the terminology there. 100%. Dr. Brand, telling us about knee injuries. Thank you so much. I want to report on the meniscus next show, if you don't mind.
We could do that, or your patella tendon. We could also talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. I want updates on that in the future for sure. Hey, want to tell you guys about Rhoback.com. Not a knee injury. Dr. Brand would be bummed to hear, but it is a great place to buy anything, really any kind of apparel that they've got going on. Rhoback.com has you covered.
Our buddy Jason Harbison last night wore the Jordan Hare print polo to Tiger Talk. It looks even better in person than it does.
What a flex
at Rhoback.com. I know. As soon as he walked in, I said, that looks an awful lot like the Rhoback polo. Sure enough, it was. And
he must have ordered it like the day of the drop.
Then. Must have.
Because it's new, right?
It's brand new. So when you go to Rhoback.com and use our promo code VICE20, you can be among the first. You won't be the first because Jason may be the first, but you will be among the first to own the Jordan Hare print polo. And you can check out all the other styles they have as well.
Yep. Rhoback.com. Use promo code VICE20. What else stood out to you last night at Tiger Talk?
Well, a lot of speculation about the offensive line over the last few days, and he Hugh Freeze flat out said that we may, move D Wade back out to tackle and look at Percy Lewis at guard a little bit, slide him inside, which, man, I don't know how many 6'7", 360-pound guards there are out there at any level, but that would be really interesting. They liked the way Dylan played last year at tackle, obviously, and if he's your best option at blocking some of these, quick twitch, speedy first step defensive ends you're going to face in the SEC, you've got to have that consistently. Your blindside tackle, everybody knows how vital it is. And if you feel, there's two ways you can look at it. You'd be like, well, Percy isn't doing the job as well. Or you'd be like, well, Dylan just does it better. Whichever, doesn't matter. You just have to have the best blocking from your left tackle possible. And if Dylan's that guy, then he's got to be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like I've heard different things about, what exactly the issue is, if it is even an issue, but concerns, discussion around Percy Lewis at left tackle and moving him into guard. I think when this is all said and done, the starting five is going to be the same five that we've seen all year at their spots. Percy Lewis at left tackle, Dylan Wade at left guard, Connor Lew at center, Jeremiah Wright at right guard, Xavier Miller right tackle. That is my prediction, is that they're trying different things, but I think they'll all settle in at that point. But I think it's good that they're trying different things. Sounds like if they need to move Dillon to tackle and Percy doesn't gel at guard, it sounds like Tate Johnson's a part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tyler Johnson at left tackle is a part of the conversation if they want to keep Dillon Wade at guard. They've got options, which is a unique situation compared to where Auburn has been with this situation. This could just be Hugh trying to, fire some folks up and send a message. It could be anything. I'm not worried about it yet.
Yeah. That's an important, So my comment was more of this is what he said. This is kind of what they're looking at.
Yeah.
And he didn't seem, we're really, he wasn't like rubbing his forehead and we're really worried. We don't know how we're going to block guys this year.
Right.
It's the advantage of depth, isn't it? It's the advantage of having 10 guys you could play on the offensive line and feel okay about playing, and multiple guys at guard and multiple guys at tackle. Hadn't been that way in a long time. Hey, guys, this is what happens in fall camp is you try new things. You try different combos on the offensive line. Very rarely will all 5 of those guys stay healthy for a full season. So at some point, you're going to have to mix and match some things.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think it's weird. The UPS guys at my front door and my dogs are just going ham now. Just totally is just giving it to them.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting that on Friday when they called out Percy, I guess he didn't say Percy by name when he called out the O-line, and then players were made available after practice. Like they gave us Percy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if it was that bad, I don't feel like they would have let him talk to the media. So
it's good perspective.
I don't know. I could be giving them too much faith. I don't know. But right now, I'm just not concerned.
They've made a lot of people available this fall, haven't they? Like the number of different, it's not the same half a dozen, 8, 9 guys every other time out, which is
an older team. It's an older roster.
Yeah.
A lot of seniors and super seniors and all that. So I'm sure that's part of it too. So
good stuff.
Brad, I think that about does it for today's show.
It does. Check out thebarnauburn.com. Get in on the discussion. $1. That's all it costs for the first, what is it, Zach? First month is $1? First year?
Yeah, it's just $1. Yep.
All right.
That's right.
I mean, it's $1. So go check it out.
Try it. Yeah. Try it. I dropped some nugs this morning. Check it out.
Try it and see. Check it out today, thebarnauburn.com. Remember, until next time, everyone has vices. Make sure Village Vice is one of yours.